Hi, welcome back to another Translator Insider. So, this week we are closing this February dedicated to starting your business and how you choose if working by yourself or if you're working in a team environment, etc. So, last week we spoke about working in a team of independent translators, such as I did for almost 10 years. And today we are talking about actually funding an agency. Obviously, it's not the first thing that comes to mind when you start your career. I know that. However, it may happen and is something that we need to consider as well. So stick around and let's talk about creating an agency in this Translator Insider. So let's start this last Translator Insider for February. And as I said, we are talking about agencies and creating an agency and what you need, what you should think of, etc., etc. I know. And as I said in the introduction of this insider, of today's insider, that creating an agency, it's not the first thing that comes to mind when you start up as a translator, when you starting your career. I know that it's something that I think none of us think of, but different translators come to the profession through different pathways, and sometimes that may be a great idea for them, and they may like to do that. So we need to know what we need. We need to know exactly what to establish, so we know and we have an effective agency. I think that's the main thing. And it's very similar to what we said last week for working in a team of independent translators. You really have to know what you want to achieve with the agency and communicate with your colleagues effectively. However, there's a few extra steps here. There's a lot of work involved because an agency is a company that needs to be registered, and you need to create all that infrastructure within that company so you can work effectively. It is not easy. As I said last week, I would recommend to create some regulatory documents such as a constitution and things like that for your team, because then you will tell all the members of your team what to expect from the team, what is required of them if they are a member of that team, etc., etc. But if you are in an agency, obviously that's really fundamental. You really need to do that. You really need to set up the rules for that particular agency, etc., etc. Then you need to think of things. For example, if you want to get or have a very specialized agency, for example, let's imagine you have worked in the law field for a very long time. You decided to become a translator. You are a very good manager and you think, okay, I think I can do this. I can work as a translator, but I can also be a project manager, have an agency, work with a few other colleagues, and we can get a very nice team. So, and that's your plan there. But for that, you really need first register the company, have contacts. It is very important. If you want to create an agency from scratch, you really need to have contacts. You really need to know beforehand that you have contacts that may translate into possible clients. And obviously you need, and that is not as important, but you need to have some contacts of colleagues as well that may want to work with you in that agency. So it is important that because obviously if you going to incur in all the costs of registering the company, all the costs involved with creating the company, with creating all that infrastructure, etc., etc. And then if you don't have any contacts, if you don't have any possible clients, it's going to be very hard and it may fail. So you need to have those contacts beforehand. And that's why I think this is an option for people that are actually doing something as a career change rather than starting out from scratch and all the way through translation, like what I did. So because they already have that background and they may already have contacts of companies that they may be contacting and maybe hiring them or their agency for translation work. So it is very important that you have that you establish that. It is also very important that you establish all the structure, like the constitution, the rules of engagement of your agency, such as the constitution of the company per se, which is an internal regulatory body or regulatory document, as well as your terms and conditions for your clients. But that I have already mentioned before in working with a team of independent translators. And then you obviously need to set up what type of pricing or what type of salaries or what type of pricing would you be happy to pay, what would be the rates that you're going to charge to your clients, your margins. In this particular case, you will have to think about margins. And then you need to think about, for example, and this would be the type of, if I was to create an agency, this would be the type of agency that I would like to work with. And it would be having a group, a team of translators associated with the agency, and working in a salary basis rather than just hiring translators for this and that, because it's always different translators, and if you have that set team, it would be better. But that's my personal option. That's my personal opinion. I've never worked in an agency, so it might actually be not the best choice because I have never worked in an agency, and this is my perception, and this is my preference in terms of what I would do. But that doesn't mean that is the best choice. And I do not intend to create an agency. I never did. I think it wouldn't work for me. So, and then you need to know how much you're going to pay. You need to start the recruitment process to have, if you want to create an agency of in-house translators. And when I say in-house, it doesn't mean that you have to hire some premises and have all the colleagues working with you in a certain space, in an office. Of course, everyone works from home and everyone works in their own space. But what I mean by in-house is someone that is in your payroll, something like that. Or if you're gonna hire or put job ads out there, so other colleagues, so translators, can apply for those jobs, and you have to choose the most suitable ones, etc., etc. You also need to know exactly what to ask for those translators. You need to have a database of translators. This is very important. You need to have a database of translators that are happy to work with you. And for that, you need to communicate effectively with them what your agency is about, what are the rates you are happy to pay, things like that. So they are in your database, and when you have something that suits them, you can send them a job proposal and see if they are available or not, and something like that. So this is very important. Again, good communication, both with your colleagues and your clients. It is very important. A website, but that's in my view, it's paramount to any business. And have that communication and being a good manager. I think that's essential if you want to be in agencies, being a good project manager, treating your colleagues with decency. For example, in my particular case, if I had an agency, I would never refer to another colleague as a supplier or something like that, or as a vendor, because I think it's quite offensive. I consider it offensive. I think a lot of other colleagues do as well. I would like to treat them as translators because that's actually their job title. But that's just me, and that's criticism that I do of agencies. I really don't appreciate that. And you need to communicate with your fellow colleagues effectively. You need to have good communication, be there to answer all their queries, because they have to ask questions to be informed about the project, and also be there should any problems rise from the project. So I think that's something very, very important if you want to be in an agency. Be organized, because you are the project manager, you are the manager. So you need to be very organized to deal with different translators, different services. For example, you may have one translator doing the translation, and then you have to pass to another one to do the proofreading and things like that. And you need to be very, very, very effective in communicating and very organized, so things run smoothly, and they run smoothly not only for you, but for your client and also for your colleagues. I think being organized, being on top of things, being respectful of all parties involved, both clients and colleagues, and knowing exactly what you want and where you stand in the business, I think is the secret if you want to start an agency. And that's all for today. I hope you liked this insider. I hope you had a little insight of what I think you need if you want to create an agency. And obviously there would be way more things, like more in the admin part of it, because basically creating an agency is creating a company. So and apart from being a translator, you have to be a manager, you have to be a business owner. But that happens with any pathway that you choose. You're always going to be a business owner, and there's always the admin part of it, and there's always the management part of it. So I think that's common for whatever path you choose. That's why I just focused in more practical things like the communication, the management of both clients and colleagues, and especially to have good contacts, a good database with both clients and colleagues that you can contact. Choose the model. Either you want just a team, a specific team of translators that doesn't change, is always going to be those translators there, or you want to hire freelance translators on a project basis. So that's another thing that you should think of, and that's why I just focused on this part. I hope you liked it, but obviously if you have any questions, if you would like me to answer anything about this, please feel free to leave a comment below. If you are working in an agency, or if you founded an agency yourself and you think I forgot to mention something, please share with us. Put a comment below. I'll be very, very happy to answer all your comments. Share the video, let's make this community a little bit bigger. And of course, all of this, not specifically creating an agency or per se, but working in a team or working as a translator is something that is included in my course, starting out as a translator, and you can find it at Udemy. I'm gonna leave the link below as well, both for the Portuguese and the English versions of the course. as I've been mentioning before, the course is exactly the same in both languages. The only thing that changes is in the first module of the course that regards to qualifications. I will present options in UK and Australia for the English version, whilst for the Portuguese version I will present options in Portugal and Brazil. So if you want to have a look and enroll this fantastic course, the links will be below. Before I go, obviously I would like to thank you all for watching and ask you, please share, like the video, and subscribe the channel with a click on the bell so you get a notification of a new insider every week. Before I go, and once again, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful week. See you next time. Thank you. Bye.